I, 28 female, got divorced 2 years ago after my ex cheated on me and got the other woman pregnant. Ex and I have 2 children together who live primarily with me and see him every other weekend. Ex and his other woman have a daughter together now who is almost 2.5. Ex has attempted to get me to take an interest in his child, and I have told him his youngest is nothing to do with me. That it is his responsibility to provide for her and to facilitate the relationship with our children, and that any gifts purchased for her from them should be purchased at his house. I said this because he asked me to get her gifts from the kids for her first birthday, and again for her second. He also wanted me to buy some Christmas gifts for her from them. He has invited me to her birthday parties, and they have asked about sleepovers. I always say no. I know she is innocent, and I have no hatred or dislike of the child. But I do not want any responsibility for their child on me. I also don't feel like I am obligated to pay for gifts. Considering he is the shared parent, I feel like it's his responsibility. All I do is tell my kids not to be too hard on her because they found her annoying and made some comments that needed to be dealt with when she was first born. These weren't anything much, but they didn't like her crying and were taking out the actions of their dad and his girlfriend on the baby because they were pushing very hard for the kids to be adoring big siblings when they wanted things back to normal still, and they saw their half-sister as the reason. In the last 3 weeks, my ex and his girlfriend both lost their jobs, and now they are trying to use that to guilt me to help. They asked if I would be their childcare for her. Ex said it could be a good bonding time for our kids when they see mom with their sister. I told him no. I should add, most requests were made in messages I didn't reply to. I have responded a handful of times, and only when I was left with the question being asked to my face, or if I thought they might drop her off at my house. I do my best to only have communication with my ex when it concerns our children, and sometimes that is hard, because he will call to ask about me being more involved with his youngest when our children are with him, because he knows I will always answer when they are with him, because you never know what could go wrong when you have a child with a heart condition, my youngest. Am I the a-hole for taking this stance? It is rare I see this little girl, but when I do, I don't ignore her or anything, but I don't want to take her home with me either. Not the a-hole. If I tried that with my ex-wife, she'd tell me to F off. Your responsibility begins and ends with your kids, and the co-parenting role you play with your own kids. Nope, not the a-hole. By the way, let them know that if they ever drop her off without warning, that you will call CPS or drop her off at the nearest police or fire station. The fact you even thought it was a possibility they might show up to leave her with you without permission is alarming. Not the a-hole. She is their kid and their responsibility, not yours. Your kids can bond with her when they are with her dad, and it's his job to make it smooth. Your job is to make sure you're not bashing ex or the kid, and of course support your kids with relationships. Also, if they lost their jobs, why do they need childcare help? They are looking for work, and the jobs would put them on the same work schedule, or something like that. Honestly, that was something I was afraid of, that they would try to dump more responsibility on me if I did do smaller things, and look at what they're asking for now, without me saying yes to any of it. I, female, am engaged to my fiancé, male. I'm pregnant and will be giving birth in about a month. We're all very excited for the new baby. In my family, there's a tradition that whenever someone has the first grandchild, the parent is gifted something large by the grandparents. My parents are divorced and decided they would gift me the vacation home they had together. It's a nice vacation home and was previously just being used by each of them separately on-off years. Since my fiancé and I already own our home, this home is still to be used as a vacation home. My fiancé's name will not be on the deed of this house, and it will be solely mine. Our prenup agreement will also include this home. We both are coming into marriage owning several properties. This is where I might be the a-hole. We went to sit down with the attorney, and my fiancé is going to split everything evenly that he owns between the 2 children. I had it listed that everything I came into the marriage with would be given to my biological child only. He thinks I'm the a-hole. I didn't see it that way, because him and his ex have made it very clear that I am not their mother and will never have any say about their child. They included financial decisions as well, which I completely agreed to, unless my money was being included. My mother-in-law said she understands my point. So, am I the a-hole? Edit. I should add, the inheritance will be significantly different. I do own more property than he does, and my property has higher property value. Edit. Also, anything purchased after our marriage would be split between both children evenly. Edit. I see a lot of people bringing up the ex. Unfortunately, the child likely will not inherit anything from their mother. The mother has no desire to even own property and is a big believer in spending all of your money while living and having fun. Not the a-hole. Each child will, presumably, be receiving inheritance from both biological parents. Your child is in your will and their father's. His elder child is in his will and presumably his ex's. I'm betting that your husband's ex-wife doesn't intend to distribute her estate between the two children. It's even less likely that her parents would mention your biological child or children in the disposition of their estates. That you have been told clearly that you will have essentially no role in your stepchild's life is almost irrelevant, but an interesting example of these folks wanting it both ways. When it comes to divvying up your stuff, you're supposed to treat the children equally, but you're not to have any influence while you're alive. Not the a-hole. Your fiancé and their ex have made it clear that you aren't having a parental role. You're just following their rules. I assume that his ex is adding your child to their will, because if his child is listed in the wills of 3 parents, surely yours would get that as well. My guess is that if you propose this so everything is fair, they'd be horrified. Not the a-hole. OP wouldn't marry him either with his double standard. He has 2 biological children and is splitting his assets equally between them. You have 1 child, and you're passing on your assets to that child. The very fact he even suggested you had to give any of your assets to his child is a red flag, and I would not proceed with marriage until it's fully worked out. Update. We had a serious discussion today about all of this. He has seen the post. We have decided he will divide his properties and assets between both children evenly, and I will give my assets and properties to my 1 biological child. I explained my reasoning, and he understands. Not happy about it, but understands. After reading the comments, he said he understands I'm not responsible for his ex not planning anything for their child together, and that our child should receive their parents' assets. He said he realizes he can't expect me to give his child my property from prior to marriage, that he did not contribute to, when they don't want me to be any kind of parent, and just a fun adult in their lives. Thank you all for all of your kind words and stories. I really appreciated all of them. My 22 female, brother, 17 male, was an affair baby. What ended up happening was the following. My dad remarried another woman and gained a stepdaughter, 17, who he treats like his own. My mother remarried another man and had my half-sisters, 14 female, 13 female. My brother's father is not in his life. As a kid, I spent an equal amount of time with both parents, but my brother was always with mom. From what I know, my brother doesn't call anyone dad. This is something that really affects him. He's always wanted a dad, and one of those happy little families, and I recently found his letters to Santa from when he was younger, and I'm absolutely heartbroken. It is something I now feel very strongly about. Because my mom works a lot, no one ever shows up to my brother's games. He doesn't really care, or at least acts like he doesn't. Well, my boyfriend and I decided to go to every one of his games, and have been going to every game since last year. He always gets really happy. He even jokingly calls us his parents as we sit with all the other parents. This is something I only do for him. My brother had his final volleyball game near the end of October, and like always, I was going. However, as I was about to leave, my mom said she needed to talk. 10 minutes later, my dad shows up. They usually cannot stand each other, so I thought it was something serious. They just told me that it's nice that I go to all my brother's games, but my sister on both sides feel left out, and I should make an effort to go to their things too. My 17-year-old sister had some dance rehearsal on the same day, and they wanted me to go to that instead to prove that I'm not playing favorites. They also said that they want my boyfriend to go as well. I said no. They kept begging though, and my mom told me that my other sisters had something coming up as well. I said no. Unless it's a major game or recital, I won't attend. I'm already very busy and only do this for my brother because unlike my sisters, he has no one. My parents said that was unfair to the girls because they deserve to have an older sister. They both also agreed that it's weird my boyfriend and I act like his parents. I just told them that sucks, but I have a game to get to. They're both still mad at me. I haven't been allowed in either house since that day, and until I promised to commit to the girls as well, but I keep refusing. My mom's called me mean, selfish, etc., and my dad keeps saying that he never expected this from me. I don't know. Am I the a-hole for refusing to do the same for my sisters? I just want my brother to have one thing. He never gets anything. But maybe I'm the a-hole for doing this at the expense of my sisters. Not the a-hole. I'm just curious. Did you point out that you wouldn't have to if either of them could commit to being there? The blind spot they have here doesn't make much sense. No one is coming to Bro's things. That's why you are going. If they showed up, you wouldn't have to. This convo should have become one of the now 3 of you adults doing what's best for the 4 still children. And you aren't being mean or selfish. You are being a great sister and adult by helping out. It's not weird that you and your boyfriend act as parents. It's weird that Bro's parents aren't yet to see the value in being present. Yes, I stayed very clear that the main reason I attend is because my brother has no one going to his games, while my 17-year-old sister's mom always goes to her dance stuff, and my other sister's dad is super involved in their sports. They just replied with, "Well, it's unfair to your sisters." Not the a-hole. Your parents abandoned your brother. Your sisters aren't showing up to his games either. What's going on is jealousy and attention-seeking. And your parents are a-holes. Apparently, what's good for the goose is not good for the gander. Not the a-hole in any way. You're right. They have their parents. Your brother doesn't. Especially if your mom, his mother, doesn't even take the time to go. Does she even like her son? I would sit your sisters down and explain to them why you only do it for him, though. Also, it isn't your job to go to their events. That's on their parents. My neighbors are a young couple in their 30s, Annie and Bill. They've had a baby a couple months ago. The baby came home last month after 3 months in hospital. My wife is friendly with Annie. We can't have children, so whenever we have a neighbor with a baby, my wife makes friends with them. We have my mom staying with us, as she no longer is able to live independently. My mom has complained several times that she can hear the baby crying, especially at night. My wife says the baby has bad reflux, and they're trying to deal with it. The baby screams several times a day. It's awful listening to the poor thing cry for so long. It does feel like they aren't dealing with the baby as quickly as they should be. The baby screamed for 10 minutes solid the other night. My wife says that the baby screams when they bathe it, as Annie has told her that baby doesn't like being bathed. Baby is always crying, and it's frustrating, especially when mom needs peace and quiet to recover from surgery. Since the baby has come home, there is no longer any room on our street during the day, as we have on-street parking. This is making it difficult to get mom to appointments, as she can't walk to the end of the street to get to her car. But we also can't park in the middle of the road, as it blocks the road, and can take over 10 minutes to get her in the car due to mobility issues. There had always been at least one empty bay outside our house, but now it is always occupied by either someone from their families visiting or one of the healthcare professionals involved in the baby's care. I reached a breaking point at the weekend. Mom had been home alone all day, and she was in tears when I got home from work. Wife was away visiting friends. She said the baby had been screaming all day long. It was still crying when I came home. I went and knocked on Bill and Annie's door to ask if they could quiet the baby. I could see through the frosted glass that Annie was sat on the bottom of the stairs, not even trying to calm the baby down. When she came to the door, she apologized and said she had been trying to calm the baby down, but the new medication was making him constipated, and he was straining to poo. She said Bill had gone to pick up an emergency prescription to try and help. I snapped, as she clearly hadn't been trying, as she was sitting on the stairs, and I told her that they need to be more considerate of others, and if she didn't quiet the baby, then I would log a noise complaint with the police. Annie was upset at this and closed the door in my face. When my wife came back, she told her what I had said. Now my wife is angry with me as I was making life difficult for a young couple with a sick baby and is giving me the silent treatment. I feel like I may be in the wrong because of how my wife was reacting, but at the same time, the baby is always crying, and I think they need to be more considerate of their neighbors. I'm going to get hate for this, but thank God you can't have kids. Your lack of empathy and inability to sympathize is outrageous. Real babies aren't like dogs or dolls. I would hate to see how you would have treated your wife or your own child. You're the a-hole. On-street parking means it's game for anyone, even if it's an inconvenience to others. Filing a noise complaint because of a crying baby is ridiculous. I actually hope you do, and you come back here to indicate how big of a laughingstock you are for doing so. Expecting someone to be able to magically stop a baby from crying that has health issues is also unreasonable. That's not how babies work. Just because the baby was crying when you went over to make your ridiculous demand and wasn't being held, doesn't mean the parents aren't actively trying to soothe their child and instead are taking a moment to catch their breath, as reasonable parents and people oftentimes do when things get stressful. You're the a-hole. Babies cry. Sick babies cry more. It's not your job to judge new mom for sitting on the stairs. If you're annoyed next door, imagine life inside with a person she loves in pain. Now she has to deal with you? Get your mom noise-canceling headphones. Reserve the car space on days you need it. Or ask the people parked there to move. Or ask a city to make a handicap spot. Your problems are yours alone to deal with. Leave those poor people alone. My, female 55, son is dating his girlfriend for 2 years now. They are both 24 but still live at their parents' houses. They are talking about buying an apartment together next year. As Christmas is approaching, my sister is organizing our Christmas Eve in her house, and she invited my son's girlfriend. When I asked her for confirmation, she told me that she has to see first with her family, as she is used to celebrating Eve with them. I told her that she was not forced to come celebrate with us, that she could do what she wanted. Like if she's coming, that would be nice, but if she stays with her family, that would be okay. And I added that, but in any case, my son is celebrating with us. When I told that, I saw her face changed, and then she made a mad, frustrated smile saying, "Yes," and left the kitchen, where we were, and would barely talk to me. I guess she didn't appreciate the last sentence I said, while I don't really see the problem. So I told what happened to my son, and he answered that that was not nice to say, and that I shouldn't have spoken on his behalf, and he was like, "So if she leaves her family for Christmas to celebrate with us, that's fine, but if I do the same on the other way, it's a problem." I also asked other relatives what they thought about that, and they told me that it was petty to say that too. But, I'm sorry, they're not married yet. I still have the right to wish my son will be by my side for Christmas. If her parents are fine with letting her, that's their problem. I look forward to your future post when your son has moved out and goes no contact with you. You're the a-hole. You can wish for anything you want, but your son is an adult. That means he gets to make his own decisions and speak for himself too. You're the a-hole big time. He is an adult. He is also not your property. They may end up married, and you don't want to be the person that creates a strain on their relationship, as they both might resent you for many, many years. If you want to treat your son like property, like a child, he will regress and behave like one. If you want him to be a good, capable adult, you need to treat him like a 24-year-old. Geez, he's an adult. He can do whatever he wants and go wherever he likes. When he moves out, he may even only come for Christmas every few years, or not at all, especially if you carry on acting like this. It's not about what you want. As parents, our children don't owe us anything. They are not obligated to spend holidays with us. You're the a-hole.